I'm sorry for speaking English. My Icelandic is not too good. I didn't really understand anything this morning, except that you try to do things. That's what I understand. I work as the lighting designer for the city of Malmö, and it's located very close to Copenhagen in the south of Sweden. There's 300,000 inhabitants in the city. It's not much. It's I think it's about the same size as the entire Iceland. But it's still the third largest city in Sweden. The city has gone through a development which is very interesting, from an industrial city, building the largest chips in the world, to be a city of knowledge nowadays. And that transformation has been done in about 15 years. It's also interesting to see that the south part of Sweden is very attractive for people moving there. They speak about 176 different languages in the city. So it's very hard to find anyone coming from Malmö. I'm born there, and I'm raised there, but my mother is from Stockholm, and my father is from up north in Sweden. So it's like many of the largest cities in the world. It's a melting pot, and that gives you a great tolerance also when you do things in the public realm. We could do anything, and people just say, nice, someone did something. And so it's not very conservative. It's not a beautiful city either. They tore down the entire center of the city, and it's not because of the war, because Sweden wasn't involved in that war, or any war for 650 years. But they had an idea of making a better city, and they made the mistake of taking away all the character of the architectural qualities in there. As said, I've been working in the entertainment business, and I've done movies and TV productions, launching of different cars and everything where you need lighting. Light is not something that you really think about. If you go to a concert, you're very happy if there's a good sound and if you can see the artist. That's enough. But if you add the extra dimension of the lighting, then you can get to see the concerts of, for instance, Pink Floyd, which are one of the most known ones to have really artistic shows involved in it. And it gives you an extra dimension of it. But it's fully enough with a good sound and a good lighting. Pretty much like here. You see me, you hear me. Because light in itself is not interesting. And that's coming from a lighting designer. Light in itself is nothing. But it's what you can see in light that gives you the idea of where you are and what you feel. And that is often it's the architects, landscaping architects, or other people who build things who give us the vertical elements and give us the quality also of what we see. And color is a thing also that is rarely used. White is enough because the quality of the architecture is good enough and so on. I saw some lighting installations around the city yesterday. There was a lot of colors, and I was kind of happy of it because it gives you a good feeling. But I can understand this when I hold lectures at the architectural schools and so on. I see the clothes are about the same as in here. They're all black. There are no colors in people in themselves. Everybody just want to be conform and want to be in part of it. And it's the same thing with using white light. You don't change anything because you don't have the idea why. And if you see, I think you are very aware of it in Iceland. There's 8,760 hours in a year, and 4,200 of them are nighttime. I think you have a few more days with light in Iceland than they have in Italy, but they're kind of divided in another way in Italy than they are in Iceland. So light in itself is not interesting, but it's what you do with it and how you present your life in it. After working on stage for many, many years, this is now my stage. This is the city of Malmö. And the main difference is that on a theater or in a film shoot or whatever, you have a controlled environment. You know exactly what you do and why. You can do any tricks. I can use this and I could create magic in anyhow of it. But when you work in the city, people, they just turn up in places that you don't want them. They you know, the thing about glare and how to perceive an artistic object or how to be led through the city and so on. It's very, very hard. It takes a long time to understand the difference. At least it did for me. But if you know about the technology, then it's just a problem, and it's to solve it. So I'll show you a few pictures of the works I've done the latest years, and I'll try to talk in the same time. Yes, I work with about 40 different landscaping architects and architects in the city, which are full-time hired, all of them. I only do the lighting design for them. The thing I do is that I realize their idea of how to see their work in the nighttime. It's very rare and very seldom that I do anything myself. If you take a football field and you tell me to do a lighting design on the football field, it would be impossible. It's just a football field. There would be light on it, but it wouldn't make any difference. But if you work with the landscaping architect in the early stages I do, in the startup of the projects, then you can create anything you want to, and you can save a lot of money on it, and you can also get a good maintenance idea of it, and get them to be reliable features in the city. And these are the Christmas lights, yes. I also take care of all the Christmas lights in the city. Since I come from the show business, they wanted me to do all the show things, all the temporary installations in the city also. But sometimes I do permanent installations and also draw fixtures myself, and they are oftenly done just from the idea of how to use the light in the city. And sometimes I do things myself also without the architects and landscaping architects and other ones, because we want to get out in the field where we can really stretch it and do things that we wouldn't do normally. And sometimes we make loads of mistakes, and they are very costful. But then we know we shouldn't go that way. And that is very important. It's a very allowing city to work in, and my employer is very keen on doing things on the edge. They really want to be in the front. So they allow me to do a lot of strange things. But I am only allowed to make a mistake once, not the same mistake twice. As you see here in the pictures, there are a lot of things, and all of them are in the outdoor environment. I think there's one project going by where I did a parking house. I also did a bicycle parking house and so on. But I mainly work in the outdoor environment. So it's costful fixtures, and it's very, very hard to get it going. But in the maintenance department, which is in the city also, we work very closely to find the best products and the best way to use them, both in handling, but also in installation and the performance. And that, I think that was the largest task in the beginning, to get all the people to work together. In the office there is a traffic department, there is a maintenance department, and there's also the department where I work, which I forgot the name of. Well, we do all the design and landscaping and so on. To get all these three departments to come together and really understand that we could draw loads of benefits of working together. Instead of having a technical department that says, well, LED is the future, we got to save energy. And then the other one for the environmental department, they will just look at it and say, well, it looks like crap all over the city. And the traffic department say there's a lot of people getting killed on the streets. So we have to do a very close collaboration and really stretch it. And now we do. It took me a few years to do this. But I'm also involved in a lot of projects with external lighting designers and architects, because the city is developing in a very rapid, by the moment, it's a high speed on it. This is a square in a new part of the city. In this new part, there will be 8,000 apartments and 9,000 places or office spaces. There is a shopping center which is 90,000 square meters. There is an arena where the Eurovision Song Contests were held in May last year. And it's also the first train station into Sweden. This is drawn by Sweco Architects in Stockholm, Torbjörn Andersson, and he collaborated with Niklas Ödman at Black Lighting Design. They wanted to have rolls of cloth across the entire square, which they could change, and they could change colors of them. And I told them that that is impossible because Arup made a wind calculation. This is the windiest part in the south of Sweden. But the jury, they decided that there were other qualities in the squares that they really did want to have this instead. So then we started to collaborate, and we took away the cloth from the beginning, and then the suggestion was to use fiber optics. And I said, fiber optics won't do this because the lines are like 40 meters and sometimes even longer. But they insisted and told me that that is the way to do it. And I said, well, let's try it out. So we did a test in Stockholm, and very soon we saw that this is not the way to go. So I recommended them to work with the Color Kinetics SLX on the steel wires instead. And I just recommended the material, and then they had the idea of making a digital night sky themselves. So you have about 10,000 light-emitting diodes in the sky here, and you can make any kind of shape of it, any color, and any movement you want to over the square in the nighttime. If you have the possibility to visit Malmö, this is the one thing you should see. Not just because of the lighting design, it's a nice square also. So that's the way how I collaborate. I try to get into the solution with a technical solution which our maintenance department could handle, and I could also see that I could use the instrument for different programmings, and there will also be a way for the lighting designer, the external lighting designer, and the architect to look good in the end. So sometimes I draw things myself. This is a small bench, and it's put in a garden where the castle garden does this work, and it's just a small bench. I made it as small as possible for two persons to sit on it, and it's archetype of a lamp. If you see the post in the bottom, and then you see the typical lamp of it, and there's a small LED in the handle, and also some light underneath it. That's all the light there is in the entire park. Because it's not really a place where you have to go through to get a shortcut to somewhere. You have to choose it yourself to go in there. It's your own decision to go into this park. Because if you start to put up a lot of lighting poles, then you say this is a safe place to be in. The same thing is in Rosengård, where I grew up as a kid. This is a so-called problem area. There's a lot of things to say about that, but it's a small park, and it was unused when I was a kid, and it wasn't used until like 7 years ago. There was just grass and a few trees, and we had to take down some of the trees because of the disease in them, and then we decided to make it a English walking park. So there's no way just straight through the park. You have to go in there and take a walk in it. And I suggested a lighting system where you could sit down, and we could also get a projection of the light coming through the leaves as a memory of all the trees we took down. So I produced this one, and it's made from steel sheets and CE compliant fixtures in it. So it's no mumbo jumbo. It's very easy to do. And we also added a stage in the end, because the kids, when I was out there, the kids, they said that they wanted a stage because they wanted to perform some poetry. And I said, poetry, well, you see these kids in baggy clothes, and they're into it. And then I understood that they were writing poetry in a house just next door, and it was slam poetry. And slam poetry in the end is hip hop. So there's a lot of hip hop going on out there. But also the park was annexed by all the people in the area and all around in that part of the city. Because now the I don't know what you call it in English though, the Romes, I think they call it in Sweden, gypsies have their annual party there. They have Afghanic cooking lessons on the grass there. They have swap meets, second-hand outlets there. There's a lot of things. The school have they celebrate when they finish school for the year, and they also have a Christmas celebration there. There's things going on all the time in a park which wasn't used at all. The only thing that the police said was that this is not the lighting system for this area because this is a dangerous area. People are shooting each other and so on. There got to be light in here. And I said, please let us try. And they said no, and we tried anyway. So 7 years ago this was, and there's happened nothing there. There are no tags on it. There are no scratching, no damaging, except for the tall one, which the maintenance people run over with a truck. That's the most horrible thing that happened in this park. So if you don't lead people to a place in the nighttime which is not secure, then there won't be any people to get hurt. But if you choose to go in there, you can have a very poetic little session with you and your friends in there. Other small things we do is we create events and happenings for people to get together in a social way. This is a conventional photo machine. We go in and take a pass photo. But we wanted to make something else. This is called a Gigantomaton, instant fame. So on top of it, there's a video machine. So you could be projected up on a house, for instance, and you will be instantaneously famous. And that is what all the kids are talking about today, being famous. You don't have to do anything, and you don't have to be a game changer or start up anything, or you just be famous. That's the most important thing. So this machine is traveling around in Sweden now because it was so good, and the city produced it, and we thought this is such a good idea, so we shouldn't lock it in the city because we can't do any rental business and so on. So we sold it to other free company called Luxera. And they travel around with it, and it's out all the time, all over the city. And this is the idea we had behind it. What is happening in a social society when you put out a machine like this? It's very self-controlling. Many people said there will be obscene pictures in it. People will pull down their pants and press the button and so on. But if there's standing like 30 or 40 people outside a machine, this will only happen once. Because he will be such an idiot when he comes out of it. We also had it once in a big party, and everybody who came there, they had to take a photo of themselves, and we put up video screens and TV sets in there, and all the pictures was going there, and we said, oh, they arrived now, and there he is, and she is there, and so on. And later in the evening, the most amount of people in the machine that was visible in the machine was 7 people, but I think there were like 12 in the machine trying to get a photo together. So it's a nice thing. So this is a few things that I try to develop. This is developed by me and an architect. Esbjörn Johansson at XXX Architects in Sweden. We tried to make a lighting to a new bridge, a new lighting system. And a new lighting system on a bridge isn't that easy, since there are many restrictions around it and so on. It's also a bicycle lane there, so we had to connect to some kind of rules of how to use lighting. But we wanted to do something special, and we want to make it in a free form also. So we contacted Atelier Lyktan, which is a production company in Sweden, and we told them that we want to do this in carbon fiber. and LED lighting in it, and also a concrete slab in the bottom. Now it's realized, and there are 3 of them on the bridge. So when you're under it, you will see the elliptic shape, and they will create some kind of roof and a place to be. And a long distance, you will see just two lines on top of it. And then there's also an edge, which on the one side, the curve has a very high speed on it, and it's smaller, so that's where you pass quickly. And on the left side, it's a bit slower on the edge. And then you have a meeting place there instead. You can sit down and relax and have a good look at the town. So the collaboration is very important from the beginning, from the start of the projects. Then you can do things like this. But if you think that you will build a new house or a part of the city, and then you think, well, maybe we should have some lighting here, then you will fail. Because if not the architects or the landscaping architects are aware of what possibilities there are in the nighttime, they won't build or take care of any of the environment where you can do the good lighting design. And in the end, it's all about social sustainability of how people can interact with the city, how they can be able to live in the city and say that I'm a proud person living in this city. So, and at the Christmas time, it's red instead of blue for a month. Another lighting system I did with the good help of Robert Elliott at Seteco down south of Munich is this one. It's a reflector system where people are traveling, where there's white light with a good color rendering and a good lighting level, and the orange light where the cars are driving. This is nothing you really see when you travel through the city, but you get very aware of it in your conscience in somehow. Because if you're on a bike and you come from a white system and then you should cross an orange system, you will be more aware of that something is changing. You don't know what, but something is changing. And we try to use this all over the city as the difference between white and orange. The poles are like 30 meters high, 28 meters, I think. And it took me 7 years to get these produced. And there's 6 of them, and they're connected to the city tunnel, which is down, this is down by the central station. They weren't that cheap though. They cost a lot of money, but it was a big project, so if you see the percentage of the entire project, this was nothing. There's 4,200 watts per pole. There's a lot of energy going in there. There's 75,000 square meters for the 6 poles. On a normal bicycle lane, where we have the lowest light level in the city, the energy consumption is 0.6 watts per square meter. In this system, we have 0.4. So the energy outtake for this entire area is lower than the worst lighting situation we have in the city. So if we just talk about energy efficiency, this is good. If we talk about the investment, there's another thing. If we talk about maintenance, they're not too happy about it. But people traveling through here every day, going to work, are experiencing something that they're coming home or they're going away in a proper way. The change of Malmö from an industrial city to a city of knowledge has also changed when the bridge between Copenhagen and Malmö opened. Today there's about 15,000 people from Malmö going to Copenhagen every day. In the wintertime, all they see is the nighttime. They go 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, they come home 6 or 7 in the night. There's nothing else for them. Maybe they see some rainy, cloudy day in Copenhagen. That could be nice also. But their own city, the experience is just nighttime. So if we could help them to have a good experience, a good knowledge of their city and feeling safe, I think the battle is won against the feeling of insecurity and boredom. I drew this, the light plan for this area in 2002, and I think the bridge was realized in 2010. So there was 8 years of pre-planning. But it took 7 years to find anyone daring to do this. But it turned out quite well. As a lighting designer, I have to be able to show some kind of document that I know what I'm doing. And that is very hard for me. But I can show you the master plan for the city. And this is the master plan. That's the only thing we use. This is where everything comes from. We have to be able to lead people through the city so they know where to go. We can't have the same lighting levels everywhere around the city. That's impossible. It's also architectural qualities that changes from the interception from the day, from the night to the nighttime. There's one bicycle lane where we have 8,000 cyclists every day passing. And in the nighttime, there's no one, because of the quality of how the houses are built and the feeling of insecurity in this bicycle lane is so high. We have the highest lighting level there in the entire city, but nobody uses it anyway in the nighttime. But in daytime, there's 8,000 on bicycles, and there's probably 4 times as much people walking there. So that's kind of interesting, how you lead the way. Also the difference between the orange light, the high pressure sodium, and the white light, which could be produced of any light source. Then the next one connects to the first one, light where it's needed. Where do we need light? We have no responsibility of providing light anywhere in the city. There's no law that tells us that we should provide light in the city. We could take it all away, just turn it off. But if we provide light, we have certain rules when it comes to the road security, which we have to follow. If we put up a pole, it has to be right. But all the other things are just for the comfort of being in the city and the ability to use the city in a proper way. And then light where it's beautiful. Then you can think, well, beautiful, what is that? We can talk about that for hours, but I think that things happening in the city that gives you a good feeling, gives a good citizen also. People taking care of their own city. You saw the example from the problem area, where nothing had happened with the things. Everything taken care. They're all taking care of it, and they're taking it into their heart and making it part of their own city. And also the awareness from the artists of how to use their art pieces as a 3-dimensional object in the city where you can orientate yourself from, and you can also see the art pieces at nighttime. Some artists they say there shouldn't be any light on it, and that's a decision which is good as any. As when I was talking to Calatrava about turning torso there, I wanted to make a lighting design of that house because I thought that would be fun. But he said, no, there shouldn't be any light in this house. The light should come from the inside and you should see the house live and so on. But that was a good decision. I mean, he had an idea on why and what to do there. Now I had a fortune to do the lighting design for one night there to the Eurovision Song Contest. And that was a blast. And also darkness. There's no need for light. I mean, it's very hard to see where there is light if you have no darkness. It's almost impossible. If you have just a light everywhere, you wouldn't really, then you have to raise the level all the time between the individual areas to see there's a difference and so on. So the hardest thing is to work with darkness. And for about 5 years, I was fighting quite hard to change the road lighting system to a leveled, flat fixture. There shouldn't be any light anywhere else than on the road, because that was the road-specific lighting system. And on the side, you should do other things. But you should decide it. It shouldn't just happen to be light there by mistake. That's like calculating with light from the shops in the city and say, well, here's light enough, and then the shop will turn the light off. Then what happens then? You have no control over the system. So road lighting systems that are spreading lights on places where they're not supposed to do are not very welcome. We have 55,000 units and we've changed about 10,000 of them. And it's looking good. They see the benefits of it, because when you do this, you can go from 150 watt high pressure soldering fixtures to 70 or even 50 in some places. You can lower the energy outtake so much that it's probably impossible to compare it to any savings you would do with a LED fixture in that case, since the investment is a bit different. But from these four guidelines, the master plan, we made, of course, more documents and papers and books and programs and plans and yeah. And this is the hierarchy of the city. And this shows what fixtures to be changed to in the future. So we don't have to have the discussion. Since the city is built as any city in parts, and the different brief marks done by different offices, and they say, well, we have made this fantastic house, so we would like to have this French la-la-la fixture outside because this is more beautiful to this house. And we say, no, it's supposed to be this one. There's nothing to talk about then. There are some black squares in the development areas and programs and so on. And these black squares is like the train station square, which I showed you. There are no idea of what the lighting system is supposed to be, but it should be integrated in the architectural idea from the beginning. So I'm not the king of the hill all the time. I also make room for new development and new ideas of showing us how the lighting system should be developed in the city. And that is very important. Even if I travel a lot and see things, I need the input from other ones. I need a challenge from the producers and from other lighting designers and so on. That's why I'm a member of the PLDA, where we can argue about things and say we're wrong or right. And there's no consensus in that organization, I can tell you. But when I started in 2002, I had an idea of how do we develop the things ourselves in a good collaboration. And Sweden is a country where consensus is very, very important. There's a lot of coffee and cinnamon rolls before anything happens. But then afterwards, it all happens in a very quick way, though. But it takes time. It takes a lot of time, and people don't really want to listen, and they want, changes are not too good anyway. But I had an idea of getting things together, so I constructed a project called the Bylight Project. The reason the two dots in the beginning is that it should be experiencing different topics. So could be parks bylight, could be inner city bylight, could be roads bylight, whatever. And in this project, it was very important that when it came to the design part, we wanted one producer and a designer and installer to be in a group, to be the one to hand in the suggestions for us. That was the minimum. And it was in a fixed area where we were looking at different ideas and how to develop the lighting systems in the future. So we divided it into 4 different legs, where the urban light was one of them. We took a part of the city, which is also important, that it should be a condensed area. It shouldn't be like a democratic thing with one lighting system here and one other design here and so on, and nobody knows anything. We condense it down to 10 streets and turn off the entire lighting system in that part. And then those 10 streets should be designed in a futuristic way, not a product launch and show, oh, we have a new product pole thing here. But it should be an idea of how to develop the lighting system. I mean, they could paint the streets in fluorescent colors, they could do anything, whatever, but just to show us what the future step would be. So it's not about lighting source or lighting fixtures or whatever. It's how to handle the light in a proper way. And also show us then the LCCs for it. Is this a good way to go? That was very interesting to see, because we learned a lot of it. There was many experiences that would take us years to do ourselves, if we even could find it out. And then we involve artists, because artists are usually not very technical people, and they think about things that really is standing out in a way that you couldn't even imagine. But they should work with light. It could be video projections, it could be artistic pieces that contains light in itself, or it could be a lighting installation as it is, as of an art piece. And in these areas with the 10 streets where we turn off the entire light, and we have about 80,000 people coming there visiting us. And it's during a 10-day period, it's 2 weekends. The idea was not to make an event. This was not a lighting festival. This was a full-scale test. And people heard about it, and we got, at the first one, we got 80,000 people. And we had no guides and so on, so I was running around there with a megaphone and trying to get people to say, whoa, this is that, and there was no plan for it. But since we are disturbing the area, and we would like to develop things in the area, we also place 3 different permanent installations as a thank you for the area, or a timestamp for what happened at that time. So that's a way of developing the city. We create permanent installations in the area afterwards. So it's not just throwing up a few millions, have a nice look at the light, and then go away. It gives you something also as a society in remembrance and in usage. Then we also use the students in a smaller scale where we have a damage control. So, because they also, but it's very nice to see what they do, and they handle the products in another way. They rebuild the fixtures, and they try to make gobos out of anything, and use colors in a proper way and so on. So the students are helping us a lot also. And after this, you can see that if you look in the retrospective, you will see that this is the lighting system of the city. This is a part of the city, just anywhere. This is how it looks. Me and a friend went up on a tour in a small airplane, and I took a few pictures. All you can see here is waste. It's just waste. If you see a lighting fixture from an airplane, it's throwing its light in a direction where it's not doing any good. That's about 40 or 50% of the energy coming out of the fixture is going straight away to somewhere else. It's no good with it. During those projects for the by light, we could try out different fixtures in different situations. And this is the new light plan for the Hylje, the first area I talked about. And this is the first development of it with the shopping center in the middle. You can see the street lighting. It's all orange where the cars are driving. But you don't see any fixtures anymore. And there's a proper light anyway. So it's very easy to do so and save between 40 and 60% in energy just by doing the right thing. And then people are talking about Dark Skies Association. This is not why I do this. I think that discussion is animated in some way, because we have a white ballast in the asphalt, in the on the roads. So 60% of the light going down is going straight up in the sky again. So this is not why. This is just the usage of the light, of the concentration of the light should go down where it's working and doing its job. Then what happens after that? That's another discussion. That's something else we have to talk about. But if you want to use like 50 uplights in the ground or so what, if you're a lighting designer coming to Malmö, that is not a problem, if they do a proper job in a proper situation. So you have to talk about the right things in the right situations. And then it comes to the LEDs. I should just say a little thing about it. We haven't changed to very much LEDs in Malmö. Of course, we have to think about the energy consumption. We have to think about new technologies, and we should be in there in the front. But there is a small thing that we don't get any answers from the producers. One of them is the development of the products. This is a new light source. Why don't they make new fixtures for it? Why do they take the old fixtures and just put a LED plate in it? That's no good. That's a very bad way of handling things. This is a new time. This is a new light source that should be handled in a new way. Glare is something that is really a really big problem in any case in the city. As I told you in the beginning, people are coming from everywhere, you don't know where they are. And there will be glare, and it's even worse in the LEDs. The other thing is that when they're mining the ore for it in Africa or in South America, transporting it by ships to China for the cutting of it, the kids in the mines in Africa and in South Africa, the kids and people in China. I was in China in December. The water is so dirty in that area where they produce the most of the leads that even if you boil the water twice, you can't drink it. The air pollution in that area had a scale of 1 to 5. Now it's constantly on 5, so they had to change it to a scale of 6, because on 5 you weren't allowed to go out. So that's where they produce their LEDs. Then they send, these production facilities would never turn up in Europe or in America because it's too dirty. Then they send these products to Europe, to America, or their production companies in Mexico putting them together, and then they put a mark on them, made in America or made in the European Union. And you buy them, and you say, I'm a good guy because I save a lot of energy. It's a crappy light, it's a lot of glare in it, no color rendering, but it's getting better, so I try to buy it because I want to be a good person. Fine, everybody have to do their things. And then afterwards, most of the drivers live for about 20,000 hours, and the LED chip could live for 80,000 hours. So you need 4 drivers during the lifetime for it. Neither the driver or the LED chips are recyclable in a proper way. We send them in, they go away to a recycling facility. The recycling facility is down in the harbor in Barcelona, where it's shipped to West Africa and India, where kids are tearing out the good parts and the bad parts and setting fire to the plastics and sending the other things away. This is the work of the LEDs. And nobody tells us that this is not true. And nobody tells us how we should recycle this in a proper way. But that's a responsibility for me as a buyer in the city, to find out how we can get this done in a better way. So when I come into a meeting and they tell me that this is a project, blah, 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 and you should use LEDs, I say, then I leave. Nobody should choose the light source for me. I use LEDs as anyone else, but I choose the light source myself, and I consider all of the different parameters in the project. So that could be a thing to think about. And now I'll show you a little model of the next project, which is a 2-dimensional fixture. It's about 50 millimeters wide and 4.5 meters high, and there are going to be 12 of them on a square. So when you enter the square, you will see none of them, but when you're in the middle of the square, you will see all of them. They're all pointed at different directions, so you won't see them. It's just like black stripes. And one of them will contain a shower, which could be nice in the summertime. So that's my 40 minutes, and don't forget about this. So, thank you.
Thank you, Johan.
Thank you.
I will recommend that you will be hired here to Reykjavik City. Absolutely
so.
beautiful. So, are there any questions for our guest?
Well, one thing, you mentioned setting an identity and leaving in the darkness and coming back to the city in the darkness also. Have you done something about this so far?
Your question is about if I've done anything about the darkness and how I work with darkness. Okay.
No.
Yes, I have. And it's not a very popular thing, but it's all about the things about leading people through a city. And if you have a park and you put up lighting poles on every little pathway around in the park, you will tell people that this is a safe place to go. We guarantee this because there's light in there. Instead, I changed the idea of having an overview of the city and the hierarchy and what are the goal points and how are they traveling through the city. And we did a proper, really costful lighting design through one of the larger parks with an environmental light and the art pieces, and there's a good lighting system. You can really feel that this is a safe place to be in. And we took away all the other lights in the park. The politicians were very frustrated because when you take away lights, then you do something wrong for the people. But the result was that there's a lot of people going in and around there. Take away the light, yeah. There's a lot of people traveling through this backbone of the park now, and there's nothing happening in there. There are no attempted rapes, there are no robberies, there hasn't happened anything since we did this. But it is an intrusion on how people should be able to travel through the city. But my experience is that if I would be walking in a park and it's all dark, there would be a feeling of safety for me because nobody could see me. But it's all about how you think about light and the way you are there. So if I have the fortune to be able to do the plans for the larger parts of the city, so I can do things like this, and it turned out well. As for now.
Questions? Hildigunur? Nei. Já.
You mentioned the importance of considering all the parameters of a project. Since you, more than a normal consumer, have almost a political responsibility when you decide what to buy for a whole city.
It's my recommendations what the politicians should buy, yes.
Yes, and as such you are a political agent, if you will, in that situation that you have to get the information to sort of carry that responsibility, and how you point out about the sort of sustainable question mark regarding lead and in many other sort of contemporary solutions that we see in the planning sort of industry, if you will. How do you come about to get this information? I mean, is this just in the psyche and ethos of Sweden as such, that information about these things, critical sort of processes and such, are in the sort of limelight, or is there a battery or a part of the municipal system that sort of has to find information about the production line of the products that you buy?
We have restrictions on what to buy. If we buy stones for the pavement, we could buy cheap stone from China, but we have to control the factories first to see that the labor is okay and so on.
Okay, so the city of Malmö actually just
it's a fair trade city.
Yeah, exactly.
That's very important.
And
for us.
Is that considered a costly part of your?
All of it.
Sorry.
The cost for us, or?
Yeah. I mean, is this discussed as a problematic, costly part of your sort of work? No.
No. We save money on this. We save a lot of money on this.
Exactly. Thank you.
The only difference is that someone else don't make that much money. Sorry to say. And there's also a very important thing as a buyer and as a subscriber or as a lighting designer, that you should always know that that the producers, of course, they produce things to make money. That's fine. But sometimes they just produce things. And you don't know how to use them, but they are the only things that you could use. So if you take a large company from Belgium, which is very heavy to change their ideas, and they would never recognize the ideas I had as an input, because then they will have to pay me a fee of every product they produce and so on. So they will never say that this is okay. But they made a profile like this, where you can put a gobo in. The first ones they did, there were pure aluminium in them and no condenser lens. And I said, this is just crap. It cost 8,000 euros and it's just not good enough. So you have to put a condenser lens in and paint it black. 1 year after, they were all black, all with a condenser lens. And I said, oh, good, you did this. No, this is the way it's been forever. The other thing we did, we told them that if we're going to use your LED fixtures, we want you to raise the LED plate for 70 millimeters inside the fixture. They agreed on 40 millimeters in it, and but they said this is just a development of the product, so this is not an input from you. This is nothing spectacular. Yeah, they don't want to pay us anything, but that's fine, just as long as we can get a product that we can use. Now it's a standard for them. And the only reason they did this is because we said we will buy 10,000 of these units if you produce it this way. So we have a lot of responsibility as buyers to put the right questions out to the producers so they are able to produce the right products for us in a proper way also. Because if we don't put any questions back to them, we will sit there with a catalog and say, oh, this is not good, but I'll buy it anyway. That's not the way to do it. And it's very important to know also, as I buy things for a city, that I have to buy bad things. Because if I don't put any money into the industry, they won't be able to develop anything. So it's a hostage situation in some kind. But it works in two ways in the end. So you have to be there, you have to have contact with all the producers, not by the sales organizations, by the people sitting in the R&D. And then you should tell them what to do instead. Because otherwise you won't buy anything. That's the easy way. And travel a lot. Travel a lot. Do that.
Okay, Halldór? Yeah? Are there any questions? Yes, please do.
Well, now you are the lighting designer of the city of Malmö. Is this a common practice in Sweden to hire a lighting designer for cities?
When I started in 2002, I thought I had the best job in the world. And I would make a network all around the world. I would travel and meet people in New York, Paris, Tokyo, see all the cities, see all the lighting designers all around the world, and this would really explode. And after about 6 months, I realized there's no one else. So the network was me. At that time, there were not really any proper lighting designer educations. I mean, I'm not educated. I don't have any academic points at all. I have a training as an engineer back in the days and so on. I've studied some hydraulics and computer constructions and so on. But I'm autodidact in that way that I learned the hard way. I worked with Joseph Sobra in Prague. I worked with large TV productions. I've been very fortunate to do this. So when I found out that I was the only lighting designer, I joined the PLDA and I tried to get it out. And nowadays there are light planners, there are a few lighting designers hired on part-times in different cities and so on. I think they have one in Paris now, and there's a person in Copenhagen, but he's very interested in drawing fixtures. But the development is there, and the awareness is there. As you see, the United Nations have the Year of the Light, I think it's called, yeah, Year of the Light in the next year. That is a fantastic development. The acknowledgement of light, which is quite uninteresting in itself, but the use of it is very interesting. So no, there's not many lighting designers around the world hired by cities. unfortunately. But maybe the next one will be in Reykjavik.
Hopefully. Any more questions? Don't hesitate. Use the opportunity. Yes, it was quite magnificent towards what you've done.
It's not only me, but a lot of people around it.
Yeah, very inspiring. Yes?
Okay?
So, we'll thank you very much for this, Johan. We want to give you this book.